All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. Indeed, we return from a vacation back to the normal videos. We got a 5-game slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within this game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself for the day absolutely free down in the pinned comment. If that does interest you, make sure to keep an eye down there. But yeah, let's get to it. Very excited to be back from vacation and to bring the normal breakdown videos back. Let's get to it. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. All right, so we had kind of, I guess, an up and down vacation time, right? 3 positive days, 2 negative days, or actually 2 positive days, 2 negative days, 1 middling day. But yesterday we go 1-1, so we lose a little bit off the top. But I did like the look of Alpi Sengun here, under 21.5 points. We'll take the cha-ching for that. That was sure as hell a good look there. The Miles Bridges and Mark Williams same game parlay, 15 plus for each of them. Also, I would consider a good look, right? We were one basket away from Mark Williams of cashing a plus money ticket there. Miles Bridges, I also mentioned in the video, might be a good look for that 20 plus number for plus money. He definitely did that. And Mark Williams, if you listened to that breakdown yesterday, I was like, he just needs the shot attempts, and he got those shot attempts. He just missed like 4 layups. He got blocked a bunch too. So it's like the read was there, the outcome wasn't. So we can't take credit for it, but at least it tells me that we kind of were on the right track, if that makes sense. And anybody that does this, every day and whatnot kind of gets that vibe, right? Like, oh, we were on the wrong track. Yes, you got to wear the L of Mark Williams only having 13 points on your forehead, but, and it's a big but, there was something to that. So that's what I'm telling myself at least here. But a 1-1 night yesterday. In terms of the ride of the day, we are bringing it back, baby. Go ahead and use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, all you have to do is use that hashtag down in the comments, or ROTD. Give me your favorite play of the day. And I jump on board with one person's pick each and every day and give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Also shout you out over on my Twitter/X. That'll be rotating right here with all of my other socials throughout the show. You also get a shout out over with the final plays on the Guy Boston Sports site there as well. And how I pick the ride of the day is I scroll down later in the afternoon and see which comment has the most likes. So if you are entering yours, make sure to scroll around and see if there's any other plays that you think are good looks, and hit the like button on that comment. And I guess speaking of that, hit the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button as well. Very excited to return from vacation. But now let's get back in the lab and jump into this slate. Got a 5-game slate. We're starting it off with Brooklyn taking on New York. Right now, Brooklyn getting 11. Depends on where you look, 11.5 in some places as well. The total's at 219. I don't think that I can fully get to Brooklyn here, okay? But I do think it's a little bit too many points to be dropping. New York is on a back-to-back, just playing Atlanta, winning 119-110 yesterday. On the season, they've covered in just 20% of their back-to-back games. Brooklyn, on the other hand, with rest advantage over their opponent, have covered in 66.7% of games. So I sit here and I'm kind of like, yeah, that just seems like a big number, but it doesn't really mean that I'm racing to get to the Brooklyn side of things. I just think I'm kind of staying away in general of this big number of the Knicks, if that makes sense. So I lean towards Brooklyn. Those reasons being the main reason, but also, this Knicks team has really struggled in terms of defending the three-point line, both on the road this season as well as the last few games. The last 3 games here, 5th most three-pointers made per game against them, right? And then on the season, on the road, the 2nd most. So if Brooklyn can hit their shots, they may be able to stay in this one. And when I say stay in this one, I mean keep it to 7, 8, 9 points, right? I don't think that Brooklyn necessarily takes the cake here, but I don't necessarily have trust in New York to win by 12 plus points. Now, can they? Of course. They're the way better team. They're the more healthy team. Speaking of health, the injury report, Mitch Robinson really the only one you have to look at here. But on the Brooklyn side of things, Simmons questionable, D'Angelo Russell questionable. You still have Cam Thomas out, Bogdanovich out. Their injury report is very long, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if the Knicks can go out there and win this one by 30. But I don't love them in this back-to-back on the road situation. This is a Brooklyn team that may just sit there being like, oh my God, thank God we are at home. And Zombie walked through this one because they have played 6 straight road games. So maybe they come into this one not even thinking about basketball, just thinking about being home. Sure, that might be your argument for the Knicks, but it's a little bit too much for me. So give me Brooklyn here minus the points. In terms of the total, I'll slightly lean towards the over. Kind of back to what I said about the idea of Brooklyn potentially having the ability to hit some outside shots. That would be great for them, right? Like that shouldn't drop any jaws there, not draws, for them to put up points if they're scoring by threes. And also back to the Knicks in back-to-back situations, they've hit the over every time in the back-to-back situation so far this year. So yeah, maybe their defense doesn't really shine today whatsoever, and Brooklyn can put up some numbers. In terms of the last couple times these two teams played, they're both back in mid-November, 124-122 and 114-108. I could see this game being somewhere in the range of like 116 to 106, right? New York still wins by double digits. It goes over, but Brooklyn technically with those 11 and a half points in their pocket actually ends up covering. So that's kind of what I would be potentially looking at here. Now, from a player prop perspective, one that I'm eyeing right now, and we want to make sure he's ruled in, and we also want to hope that he gets the minutes, which we'd be kind of looking for like 25 plus, which hasn't necessarily even been his average here really since being in Brooklyn. He's been playing more like 23. But D'Angelo Russell, I talked about the above the break issues and the 3-point issues for this Knicks team, right? And specifically above the break, last 10 games, they're allowing a field goal percentage of above the break threes, 44.4% to opponents. That is crazy, right? So I do think that if D'Angelo Russell plays, he could, 1, be able to score, and 2, hit some threes. So he had 5 in his second to last game here. He's only hit this in 2 of his few games here, 2 of his 5 games, his last 5 games with Brooklyn. He's hit it in 3 of his 6 games with them. So, yeah, it's a little bit risky here, but it should be the weakness. And if he gets the minutes, I could see him hitting this. So, again, that's over 1.5 threes for D'Angelo Russell. All right, moving on. Miami taking on Portland. Miami's laying a big number here. Now, for whatever reason, we've had some trouble with this Miami team, right? We liked the Spurs when they played them in their last game, and they were 3.5-point favorites, and I was like, it should be a 50-50 game, and Miami just pulls away and wins by 21. Portland coming off of a game against Chicago in which they actually win outright, and I'm like sitting here being like, I kind of like Portland plus the 11, plus the 10.5 in this spot, but they are on the road. That isn't all that great for them. They're a better home team than road team. They're playing Miami, who's a better home team than road team, and in Portland, it's like, can we really trust them to win or even compete in 2 games in a row? Not necessarily sure, but you know what? I'm going to roll with it for a couple different reasons here. I'm going to jump into our dashboard, which I can explain how to get access to this dashboard in just a second here. One thing that I want to look at is the fact that Portland shoots a lot in the restricted area and obviously looks pretty good defensively. In the paint here, 40.9% in the paint, and then when you get down to the restricted area, 63.1, right? And you can see Miami shoots a ton in the paint, 7th over the last 10 games in terms of frequency rate. But this is what I was talking about. So Portland shoots a lot in the paint, right? Miami at the rim allowing a 70% field goal percentage. That's pretty damn good if you didn't know that. Every 10 shots they shoot down there, 7 of them will go in. You can see right here, last 3 games, 25th in terms of points in the paint allowed, bottom 10 this year, and we have a Portland team that's kind of looking decent in the paint. I tell you guys that all the time. If you want to judge a Portland game correctly, just focus on in the paint, right? And then you flip it over to, okay, well, Miami shoots a lot in the paint. Their defense has been, okay, it's bad ranking-wise, but I already mentioned those percentages, right? And you even want to flip it over here and say, okay, well, how about this? Miami, where have they been scoring their points from? 3-point range, right? Well, Portland actually, this season, the 7th worst in terms of, defending the 3-point line, but on the road, 11th. Last 3 games, 6th. You look at their percentages, 35.5, 39.6. Yes, the right corner could be a weakness, but I think Portland actually has somewhat of what it takes to potentially stay in this game, weirdly enough. And then you look at the spread, and it's like, oh, yeah, 12 points they're getting, right? Now, there are some injuries to note. Anthony Simons listed as questionable. If he doesn't play, that's one of their biggest offensive pieces, right? You also have Robert Williams and Chris Murray listed as questionable as well. I would say this is kind of hinging on Simons. And then also, Robert Williams is, though he's not going to always play a crazy amount of minutes and whatnot, that's obviously a guy that when we talk about in the paint is a factor. So I don't mind Portland plus the 11, whatever you can get it at, right? We do want to make sure that some of these guys play though, and Simons in particular, because again, like this is a guy that I don't think that I have a feeling that this is a spot in which they're going to need someone like him to keep up with a Tyler Hero or a Duncan Robinson or someone that can kind of fill in a bunch of points quickly. If you guys do want access to that dashboard, head over to the Guy Boston Sports site. Obviously, that's linked down in the pinned comment as well. Over on the members area, you can go to the NBA dashboard. If you have access, you can see I'm logged in here. You'll get this dashboard each and every day. It breaks out every game from a visual perspective, like you're seeing when I show that dashboard, right? You can see, obviously, the season, the home and away, the last 3 trends here with a weighted advantage to kind of give you a ballpark of who kind of owns that category. You could see the shooting zones, where they like to shoot from frequency perspective. We have player information down here, some trends, back-to-back, home, away, that type of stuff in cover rates. Again, that's over here on the members area. If you're not logged in, you're obviously going to see something that says, hey, you got to log in to do this. You can pick which membership level you want. We have an all sports membership right now. You get the NFL and NBA, and obviously year round when the MLB comes out. But you can also do it by sport as well if you guys do want to check this out. Again, just follow that link in the pinned comment. It'll take you to the final plays, which is this website, and then you can head over to that members area and get access. These dashboards take a lot of work, and I do think are really, really, really valuable in terms of what we put in here. So yeah, if you want to try it out, go ahead and check that out. In terms of what we'd be looking for from a total here, right? So right now it's sitting at 221.5. This is a Heat team that has shown that they can put up some numbers. Last couple of games here, 113 and then 128. This Portland defense is so sporadic, so I don't think that I really want to rely on them. Yes, they held the almighty fast-paced Bulls to, 102, 103, whatever it was. But still, we're not looking for a crazy amount of points here. This could be a 115 to 109 type of a game. It wouldn't surprise me. That's fairly low-ish scoring and still hit the over. So I'm going to lean over in this one. And again, Portland plus the whatever line you can get them at seems like it could be a final play for me. And you know what? I'll sound the psycho alert alarm because we may be looking at something like that. And then from a player prop perspective, it always pains me when I look at this guy, but it seems like we've judged him fairly well a couple times as well. DeAndre Ayton over 13.5 points. This is a Heat team that seems like, this is the type of game that he should be able to at least get his shot attempts in there, which I'd be kind of hoping for in this case. And if he does, they're going to be high percentage looks, right? So DeAndre Ayton against, Bam Adebayo down there, potentially even getting fouled, getting to the line, all that type of stuff. Seems like it could be a good look. But again, can we at least admit that this is a spot in which DeAndre Ayton potentially can struggle overall? He will disappear at times. We just saw a guy that shoots, this is a week ago, right? And this is a similar player type via Props Madness. They deem them similar players. Ivica Zubac had a 13.5 line, just like Ayton does tonight. He dropped 21 on them, right? So, yeah, the last few centers, Wemby had 20+, Jokic had 20+, Davis had 20+, a lot different of players. But then we get to Zubac. We had Walker Kessler double his lineup on them. Miles Turner, who plays a little bit different, he hit the over in his line. So centers may have some success here against the Heat. But, again, it's still Ayton. Even though I love the matchup, it's still Ayton. All right, guys, before we go any further, it is Taco Tuesday over on Prize Picks, and they have an amazing deal going on right now. There's a few of them out in the industry, and this is one of the best. Play $5. Play a $5 lineup. Give me 50. Get 50 back instantly in promo funds. You can use the link down in the description as well as the pinned comment, or just sign up using code GUYBOSTON. You're going to get this deal. And if you guys don't know what Taco Tuesday is, Prize Picks will discount plenty of squares throughout the year, mainly on Tuesdays. They'll take normal guys' lines, knock them down a peg, making them easier to achieve. You can put them into your lineup. And again, just play $5. You're going to get 50 back. If I said, hey, give me 5 and I'll 10x it and give it to you, you do that in a heartbeat, right? So why are you not checking out Prize Picks today? And honestly, if that $5 lineup hits, you still get that payout too. So you could really be stacking your bankroll over there. So go check out Prize Picks, guys. Again, that link is down in the description as well as the pinned comment. That'll auto apply the code. But if you want to do it manually, just go to the App Store, download Prize Picks, go online, get Prize Picks, use code GUYBOSTON when depositing. You'll get the same exact deal. Play 5, get 50. An absolute no-brainer if you ask me. I wish I was a new customer for Prize, because I've been with them for a few years now, right? Using them and then eventually partnering with them with the channel. I wish I was a new customer to be able to get something like this, but this is new customers only. If you're not signed up, go ahead and go check it out. But let's jump back into these games now. We got 3 more. All right, this next one is a tough one for me. I've gone back and forth. We have Toronto getting 2 points here at home, total at 215 as they take on Orlando. Orlando's been, I mean, they've had a lot of losses, but when you look at their game, I mean, if you look at their last stretch that they just went through, it's crazy. Milwaukee, Boston, Denver. Before that, it was Philly, Milwaukee, Minnesota, the Knicks. Like, this team has played a lot of tough teams, but then you flip it over to Toronto, and they've played many tough teams as well. They've played Boston twice in their last 10. They've played Milwaukee twice in the last 10. They've also played the Knicks. They've played Cleveland. Like, both these teams have been through gauntlets here. Last time they played, this was a game in which the Magic ended up winning in Toronto here, and that was only 3 weeks ago. 106-97 they won. They were 2-point favorites. This is an Orlando team that definitely is banged up, as we know, right? No Jalen Suggs now, no Franz Wagner, obviously Mo Wagner out as well. Goga Bitadze also listed as out. Gary Harris game time decision. So a lot going on here for this squad. On the Toronto side of things, looks like Quickly still going to miss some time. Ogji Agbaji, I can never say his name correctly, but I feel like Okai Abaji is listed as out. And then Chris Boucher listed as a questionable player, game time decision here as well. So tons of injuries. I think I just want to look at the home team in this spot. But that's not to say that if you're on Orlando, I really have the best argument of telling you to do the opposite, right? I don't. I would say that this Toronto team, based on, the defense that we should see, Toronto should be able to score decently, I would say, from the mid-range, potentially from three, even though this has been a phenomenal three-point defense this year in Orlando. I still don't love the percentages that we're seeing over the last 10 games. 38% from above the break. Right corner, 54%. Left corner, they have shirt up, 28.6%. But overall, if we're seeing 38% from above the break, that ain't all that tremendous. So, yeah, it's a really paper-thin argument for Toronto, but I just think that they may have the playmakers today also that this Orlando team doesn't. Like, when I look at these starting lineups, right, which would be Anthony Pope, Cole Anthony, Caldwell Pope, De Silva, Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. up against Mitchell, Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, Barnes, and Pirtle. It just seems like, RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes should outweigh the Cole Anthony, Paolo Banchero top two there, I guess, in my opinion. Then you have Grady Dick, the spot-up shooter. I would take him over, Caldwell Pope. So, to me, this is just a spot for Toronto at home, plus the 2 points. I'm a little surprised they're not favored, so that has me kind of feeling like this could be a potential trap, but give me Toronto. In terms of, we'll get to the total in a second, but in terms of player props, I already mentioned it. I like the mid-range look here today. I think this could be a good spot for Scotty Barnes. Now, as of right now, his line, I think, is at 19.5, okay? In terms of where he likes to shoot from, like I just mentioned, he leads the team last 10 games in terms of mid-range shots, but he's going to also score a ton in the paint, which isn't necessarily a weak spot for this Magic team, but if Scotty Barnes can get that mid-range going and kind of get in the post and that type of thing, I think we could see some success. A few other guys that we've seen very similar. Jason Tatum recently had 30 points against this Magic team, right? Chris Middleton, who can kind of take over the mid-range games, hitting over in back-to-back games against them, and Scotty Barnes had 20 last time he played them here, right? He had 20, and I want to say it was, against this Magic team, Scotty Barnes had, how many minutes did he play in that game? 37 minutes. So we're hoping for a close game, which that line would indicate. And if we get, I would say, let's see if we can put him to 35 plus minutes on the year. I guess he has plenty of injuries. 35 plus minutes. He's hit the over in 62% of games so far this season. So yeah, it seems like that could be a good look. The problem is, it is a very good defense overall. I'm kind of nitpicking the mid-range, right? But I like Scotty Barnes from a player prop perspective. And then we haven't talked about the total. This would be another one, and maybe I'm just seeing overs today, but I do think this one could get up and over. I know we have two very, very slow-paced teams, but I don't think Toronto's defense is all that tremendous, and if I'm kind of selling on Orlando's defense, at least in the short term, then 215 seems a little bit too low to me. I'll look up and over. All right, Denver, Philly. This is out of the 5 games here. Honestly, the next 2 are ones that I'm just kind of racking my brain about. It's like, do we really want to look at these games that could be potential blowouts and yada, yada, yada? But right now, Denver, minus 13.5 against a Philly team in which they're still super injured. You're going to have no Embiid, as we know, no Martin, actually both Martins, but Caleb being the one that we care about as of right now because KJ's been out for a while. Paul George listed as questionable, Andre Drummond listed as questionable, Gershon Yabusele listed as questionable. So there's so many guys that are questionable in this spot. And then on the other side of things, you do have Jamal Murray. He's listed as probable. I think he's listed as very likely to play. So yeah, he might get in there. But overall, it's like this Philly team is so depleted in terms of being injured and whatnot. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games. They've only covered in one of their last 10, so they're 1-9. The only one they did was against Brooklyn. Now, they've played some good teams in the last 10, but still, this Philly team is 15-26 right now on the year. At home, they're 6-13. On the road, which they are today, 9-13. Like, it's just not exactly a great spot for them. So I think by default, yeah, I look to lay the number with the Nuggets. It's a big one. I understand that. But, I just can't really see how Philly stays in this one. One thing I will say is Denver's pace is slowly starting to get slower, which I've kind of been on the side of all season long, right? Thinking that this team is going to kind of reel it back down to where their bread and butter is, which is half-court offense. Even with Russell Westbrook at the helm, they are now, literally a week has passed, and they're from a top 10 pace team in the last 10 games to now the most recent last 10, a bottom 10. So Denver's playing slow now. I think that they're going to be able to score today, especially in the paint. But I do think that this goes under 229.5. I would peg this right around the mark of maybe 220 to 224, I would say. And 228 maximum, obviously. 229 maximum, because that'd still be the under, right? So that's where I'd be looking at here. In terms of what we have from a player prop spot, it would have to be probably Jokic or nothing for me. Maybe I could consider Russ, because Russell Westbrook obviously is going to be another guy that, aims to get into the paint, but Jokic's line is 26.5. Seems like a fairly low line in all honesty, based on how he's been playing. But you look at his points, he hasn't been crushing it. He's averaged over the last 5 games here just 21.6 points per game, which that's because his last 4 games, that's including a 35-point game. It's because he had a 10-point game against Orlando. He had a 24-point game, 19-point game, 20-point game, but his minutes have been down, right? He's played in his last 3 games here under 30 minutes per game or 31 minutes per game. If this game stays close, it's going to come down to Jokic, right? And he'll be able to score in the paint and whatnot. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Like I mentioned, Russell Westbrook, also a potential look here for me as well. His line is at 13.5 in terms of points. We want the field goal, field goals to come from him. In his last 10 games here, he's averaging 15.8. Last couple, though, 11 and 12. And again, just like Jokic, we want those minutes there. If he plays 30-plus minutes, this is a great spot. If he plays 25 to 28, it gets a little bit dicey. Lakers taking on Washington. We'll start with player prop looks in this one. You can always look at players against Washington and say, hey, go take them down low. In the last 10 games here, 73.2% in terms of field goal percentage against at the rim. That screams someone like, I don't know, have you ever heard of him? Anthony Davis or even LeBron, right? So I do think this could be a good spot for both of those guys. Where I might pivot to, just to get what I would consider maybe a more reasonable number, is a look at potentially Austin Reeves over 6.5 assists. My issue with it is that he's just been kind of all over the map. We've seen those high assist nights from him, and then last couple games, 3 and 3. Like, he's not always going to be the ball dominant guy, but there still should be a spot in which he's either throwing lobs or making easy entry passes down low. So I like Anthony Davis in terms of his points. I like, potentially a LeBron PRA maybe, but these are all lines that I feel like could be blowout. Like the blowout could hurt them, right? You have the Lakers at home, a Lakers team that likes to score in the paint against one of the worst paint defenses in the entire league. That's a little sketchy to me, whereas that Austin Reeves line kind of tells me if they do blow this team out, he may have a lot to do with it in terms of passing to these guys scoring. So that's somewhat of a consideration for me right there. Austin Reeves over 6.5 assists, but yeah, I don't really think that the Lakers lose this one. So maybe even like if you could get it for decent odds, LeBron 20+, Davis 20+, and a Lakers money line win. In terms of what we got for odds there, let's see if we can find that really quickly. We'll just use there might be better odds than this. I just want to kind of get a ballpark. So just using FD right now, if we look at, so we'll go Lakers money, that may not end up mattering. AD and LeBron, minus 140. Yeah, maybe that's it. 20 plus for both those guys, and then Lakers money line could be a look here, how we play it. Again, this this does not scream Washington to me at all. And laying that many points with the Lakers could be risky, but the way that they score fits in perfectly with this Washington team, right? And from a total perspective, we're looking at 229. I think this is kind of like two ships passing the night. I could see an over for the team total of the Lakers, but I don't really know where Washington's points necessarily come from. We look at that from a defensive perspective, right? Like Washington, they're going to want to chuck a bunch of threes. This Lakers team, honestly, on the season has somehow, some way been decent at covering that. Now, they've tailed off a little bit, 23rd in the last 3 games, but on the year, 12th best. And then at home this season, they are the 9th best team in terms of preventing points from 3. So, yeah, it's a little weird, but I don't really see where Washington points come from. So I'd look at Lakers team total over, potentially Washington team total under there as well. But, yeah, we'd have to manipulate some lines to really like anything in this one. But, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 25. You made it past the 25-minute mark. Truly do appreciate it. I said it many times while on vacation, damn near every video. I appreciate you guys rocking with me even when we are traveling and whatnot. Some people in the comments were like, why you even, like they question why I'm on vacation. It's like, because I'm living life. You probably went on a vacation in the last, couple years too, right? No one gave you crap for it. But I do appreciate the ones that are like, hey, I appreciate the video on vacation and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I'm not going to get too sentimental. I know I mentioned it a bunch in those videos on vacation, but that really does literally mean the world to me that I can fire up a video that even I admittedly say isn't as great quality as what you're seeing today, hearing today, and all that type of stuff, and people still rock with it. So truly do appreciate that, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.